Welcome to Chaos2Cured podcast. You are here with Jeffrey Freed and Kirk Patrick Miller. And today we're going to talk about something I see happening very often with ones I love and care about, and also other little ones that I work with. And that is the intense desire for friendship and connection. And the reason I wanted to kind of bring this up is it's something where a lot of times I didn't understand some of this or this desire until I watched it in some of the little ones that I've worked with. And then especially, like I said, my little loved one. Jeffrey, this is a topic that I know you've dealt with before. How big of an issue is this that you see?
It's quite big. And I haven't scoped out in my head what it actually is. And I'm going to preface this with what I say a lot, but I can't say it too much. I work with people on the spectrum mostly, and they have every sense that other people have, just more so. All their senses are attenuated. So their need for friendship, which is a lot of times the same as it is with neurotypical people, is intense. It's more exaggerated. They feel more, they're more emotional. When they find someone who they connect with, they could be very, very selfish with them. Not selfish in the traditional way, but they really want to cling to them. And they're also, and this is a killer, combine this with a dislike or almost hatred of being touched because they feel too much, and it makes relations with other human beings pretty damn hard. The way I look at it, and I kind of tell my clients this, is that folks who are non-neurotypical and or on the spectrum are probably not going to be the life of the party types. They're probably not going to like loud situations, a lot of friends that they have to figure out. But what they do like and actually crave, and they're brilliant at this sometimes, is a relationship with one or two close friends. And if they find that relationship, it's oftentimes intense, close, can be smothering to the object of the affection. But when you make friends with someone on the spectrum, you really make friends. These are people that will tell you anything, all their deepest feelings. They'll be there for you. They're very kind and considerate. But if you keep it simple and you just basically respond to these folks in an honest, sincere fashion, you're going to be rewarded, because some of the nicest people I've ever met are people on the spectrum. They care about you. They care about what you're wearing. They oftentimes will compliment you on little things that you're wearing or a certain expression on your face. And they will literally go to the moon for you once you've established a bond. So it's hard.
I love that.
Yeah, it's hard to be this way, but it can be so rewarding. I do worry about the folks on the spectrum that have no friends. Many of them say they like it that way, but I don't know if that's true. I think they like not having the cacophony, my favorite word, of people and noise and so many friends. They don't like that, but they really, really crave to be happy, a good friend or a good partner. And it's so hard for them to make that. Back to you, Kirk.
Well, I mean, what you said, there were a couple things that are so important. One of them is the smothering that you said, of the object or the person that they're really close with. Because, as you said, they care so deeply. Now, for me, I had different issues with bipolar. And so my need for connection was not as emotional, it was physical. And when I say physical, I was hypersexual from a very, very early age. I mean, I knew I wanted to, I mean, the very first, I think I was 5 years old.
Wow.
And I saw a woman, and we were at a luau in Hawaii, and I watched the hula dancer, and I literally looked at my mom and I said, I'm going to marry a woman just like that. And my mom was like, oh, you want, well, we'll go talk to her. Right. And of course I'm a 5-year-old kid. So this lady thought I was just adorable. And I mean, the reason that, and this one is so important because there's different parts to it. Like, one, you mentioned how they are honestly one of the best friends you can possibly make when you're talking about someone who's autistic. And what I have like personally witnessed, and you brought it up, how they complement, how oftentimes, because they do feel more deeply and they are phenomenal empaths as far as just picking up emotions in the room, I feel like oftentimes they know the one thing that you're insecure about, and they will actually try to lift you up from that. And which is a wonderful thing. The only trouble that I see is oftentimes they will sacrifice themselves, their own joy, money, other things, to please someone else, to almost like purchase friends. And the desire for friendship is so high that I've just witnessed a few just continually put themselves in a bad situation. And whether it's with a toxic friend, whether it's with, we mentioned it before, how they have a new app, or they have new ways to kind of bully. And one of them is like tagging the person, so you can kind of poke them and tell them that you're hanging out with their friends, but not with them. And I feel like, again, that desire for wanting friendship is very similar to the desire for wanting a relationship, say romantically. When you want it so badly and you're so pushy, a lot of people are turned off by that. They see it as needy.
Yep.
And, trying to express to an individual, and the one that I'm talking about is diagnosed with autism. And when I try to explain to her how people kind of interact, like, you know what, if you just back off and you step away, they'll actually be more willing to step into the fold. And it's hard because she honestly says, I don't understand, like, I don't get it, like, I'm a good friend, I'm always there, I'm this. And I would say, you mentioned one other thing earlier, and I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but they're all important points. The smothering part, when she does have a good friend and that friend is with anyone else, she is just livid. She's angry. She almost, like, she feels like that other friend is being like stealing her friend. And that's even when she's friends with that other person. It's just, there's a power dynamic, and honestly, trying to explain and express it has helped. It really has. I've kind of talked about some of the ways she should approach the friend. And one of the things that she and I will do is, and I do this with all the little ones I work with, if they're angry or they're upset and they need to send a text or an email or something, I'm like, listen, find somebody in your life, that could be me, that could be their parents, whoever, that you send that to first, because you don't want to burn bridges. And that's something that I have watched multiple times because the relationship doesn't work out the way that's is desirable. And so it's like, I may as well just burn everything down. And that kind of leads, it's like almost a hyper reaction. And I think when you said they feel things more, it's such a key aspect because a like a slight glance one way can be seen as like, oh, they're super angry at me, or they giggle, they're making fun of me. There's a lot of I don't want to say paranoia, but I feel like that's kind of what I see sometimes.
Like behavior. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see that too. And I guess it can be explained, or in my brain, I explain it this way. Nobody likes to be existentially alone, have nobody that it's like being lost in space. You're so different. And when other people are giggling and having fun, you can't join in. You don't know what to say. You don't know how to interact with them. And you feel alone more than other people do. Again, everything's more intense. So that when you're alone, you're really alone. So that when you finally meet someone, and it's really hard to approach someone and get them to be friends with you, you become extremely, I guess the word is jealous of their time. I'm gagging on another word that I know is better, but you absolutely want to be around that person all the time because it's so damn nice to not feel totally alone, abandoned to the universe, the only person there. That's like most people's deepest fear, to live and die totally alone and be unable to communicate with others. And these guys have it worse. So what happens is you become, when you finally get a feeling or with someone or some kind of relationship with someone that breaks that pattern, it's such a relief to have another human being that is like you. And man, you don't want to lose it. But when you do lose it, of course, anyone would be jealous or a little upset,
Yeah.
but it's to the third power and or fourth or fifth power. And it can be really, really negative. However, the cure for all this is to be able to explain it to both yourself so that you fully get it, and to your friend or upcoming friends. And basically just say to them, when I am a friend, I am a very close friend. It's the way I operate, it's the way my brain works. So factor that in before you get mad at me if I become too possessive. That's the word that I was looking for. If I
I
become
love that.
too
That
possessive, knowledge changes everything. And
it,
the worst part of this is nobody gets the dynamics. I think we do, because we work with people all the time who are like this, and we have to be successful with them. We can't fail them. We really, no, number one, we need to work. We're not incredibly rich. And number two, we want to feel fulfilled and we want to feel like what we do makes a difference. So if you work with people like this, just understanding the dynamics is an incredible step up and the most important thing you could do.
when you have somebody that is, as you said, feels so deeply and they desire so much to have that friendship, when they do have that friendship, their expectations are absolutely unrealistic. And when you can communicate with your friend and say, listen, and this is something I do. When I like with my friends, I will often say, listen, I'm not the type of person that will contact you very often. It has nothing to do with you. I'm just always in my head. And as soon as they kind of know the type of person I am, or if I say, listen, I might miss what you said. So, if I ask you to repeat yourself, it's not out of a lack of respect. It's literally because you spoke to me and all the words like just flew by. My ADHD is very difficult for certain aspects of relationships. But when I am upfront with it and the expectations are suddenly changed, it's much easier for them to understand why I said I didn't hear any of that. Would you repeat it?
Yeah.
So I really liked what you said, where, talk definitely with one individual that I brought up at the beginning. I have been very forthcoming in terms of, listen, when you get into a romantic relationship, don't jump into the physical. Don't jump into the physical. Don't try to please. Make sure that they earn what you are going to give, because what I see and how willing and how loving these people are, if somebody is willing to put in the time and really communicate, they literally won the lottery. Because somebody who is, and definitely the young lady I'm speaking about right now, I cannot imagine somebody being luckier than to have that person as a partner for a lifetime. And so I've tried to do that, because there is definitely a higher incidence of unintended pregnancies. This is not just with autism, but definitely with bipolar. A lot of the non-neurotypical diagnoses that we've talked about. So the hypersexuality in the relationship, all of these dynamics, it'd be great if they could cover this stuff in school, but there's no way they can. The teachers don't have time, and a lot of times not the capacity. So it's really falls down to community and then the family. As a parent, there's a couple things that you just have to be there for them. The reason I wanted to talk about this is so people can listen and start really understanding how special some of these people are. And I really liked, you said it right at the beginning, how they'll sense things. They can heal. I would love to see more non-neurotypicals in the world of healthcare. I would love that. And it's something that is frustrating for me at times. And I think the most frustrating thing for me is seeing somebody who is just this lovely person just get destroyed and distraught over one text, or over, I was supposed to hang out with them and they're not. And then they crumble.
Well, it's a hard world if you're on the spectrum. It's a very hard world, but it can be very rewarding too. It's just different, and it's the number of people on the spectrum, as we all know, is growing. It's more than just identification. We identify them quicker and better if we're looking for it. But boy, it's always been there. Now it's increasing as a direct response to a powerfully loud and cacophonous culture. But so this is becoming a problem that we really are we're going to face it soon, because you can't ignore the numbers of people that are going to come out this way. And just realize that if you are in a relationship with someone on the spectrum, yeah, there's negatives. They will be possessive, and they will sometimes care too much. But boy, when you have a relationship with someone like that, they will go to the moon for you, live or die for you. And it gets them into trouble sometimes, but not if we know what's actually happening.
I love that. And the trouble, and we've kind of talked about a few of them, it's not something you ever want to see anyone go through. When we are super desperate, when anyone is really desperate for a relationship, the things that we often do are not really ourselves. And what I had to do for myself was really learn that the most important relationship to establish first was one with myself. And I needed a more positive relationship with who I was. I needed to be able to accept both the goods and the flaws. And that was probably the most powerful thing that's ever helped me. I've been trying to explain that kind of a dynamic, and oftentimes they will understand. So one of the best explanations I've been able to do is, say, okay, well, you like watching, this is your favorite show, and some of them can just watch it all day long, right? So it doesn't always work, but a lot of times you say, well, if that was the only show on and that constant, would you still? No, I'd probably get tired of it. And I'm like, well, if you are always on with your friends, so you're always pushing them, they wear down. And especially, as you mentioned before, like the communication, if that communication isn't clear and the other person doesn't understand, then what they do is they see, oh, this person is like, trying to stalk me, or I mean,
Exactly.
and they, of course, a healthy relationship is not one where you have to worry about that. So then what they do is they just ditch the person, and that individual, honestly, the saddest part is a lot of times they take that as honestly kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy to show that they are not valuable, or to show, look, I lost that friend, it's my fault, it's all me.
Yep.
And they turn that inwards, and sadly that goes and quickly kind of converts into sadness, loneliness, and depression. One thing, I cannot overstate this enough. I have never seen bigger hearts. And what happens is, over time, if those beautiful hearts are not cared for and not always loved and treated right, and maybe not guided the best, they can turn really cold. And that's where you get very embittered, and oftentimes maybe where they are all alone. And I can't imagine a life where I'm utterly alone. I think connection is so important, and it leads us right back one more time to the issue of social media, and that has been a bane of my existence for a lot of the young ones I work with, because the electronics amplify the loneliness, in my opinion.
Mine too.
So, and I don't know if there's not really an easy fix. I mean, you can do Apple, like they have settings there, so you can do screen time limits. There's a whole host of things that you can try, but the desire is still there. And oftentimes too, if you remove social media, which is probably healthy, then they are ostracized as well. I think one aspect that definitely helps me get through to any of the young ones I work with is being 100% genuine. If I am not 100% honest, if I am, they can see right through me. And the moment they do that, it's like, okay, another adult that doesn't get me, that doesn't want, and they just turn off. So, if you are a parent, that would be one of biggest pieces of advice I can give is, let them talk, ask them questions. A lot of times they don't know how to express what they're feeling. And if you can get them to, and I think you've said this before in one of our other ones, to verbalize it, it just helps tremendously. And that's about the only thing that I've found that really gets through, is when you're open, you're honest, you say, this is how I feel with a relationship. If I go from my perspective and I say, I feel like this when other people do this, or I feel like this when this is happening, a lot of times they start to pick up on the little intricacies. And over time, they're spectacular learners. And with the ability to kind of sense and feel others' moods, if they really grasp it, it can be a very powerful tool for them. It's just, I know it's a frustration point for teachers. Oftentimes, the teachers in school will have problems because the student won't stop talking or interrupting because they're so excited they finally get to sit next to their friend. They've been waiting all weekend long to go see that person, and they don't want to sit there and listen to the lecture. They want it, and so there's some of these things that are very difficult because, as you said, the loud world that's around us and our culture is not really conducive to, honestly, let's just be honest, play is so important. And I know that's not what we were talking about. We should do one on that. But when we talk about relationships, that's what a relationship is. It's a friend, it's fun, it's play. And it's vital for all of us to have some people that we love and cherish. And, I think for, especially in the teen years, oh my goodness, going through middle school, that age is definitely angry and frustrated. I just read an article, I think it was in 2021. It was 3 out of 5 teenage girls reported being sad and depressed. That's just astronomically high. And as you said, with more people, and we're seeing it on a genetic level, so we know it's happening, as you mentioned, as we see more people like this, there needs to be some sort of way for people to start recognizing that the forms of communications that we have and how to communicate, it, to me, it's a class that should be taught. I don't know how to go about doing that, but or find somebody like you that they can work with. Especially, I cannot stress that enough. If you have a child and they're really, really lonely, depressed, sad, and struggling, seek out someone that will empower them. Seek out someone that will build them up. Those would be, because once they find that, once their confidence starts building, then all of a sudden they have more friends. Everybody starts realizing some of all the beautiful gifts that they do have. So, I think it's, and for those listening, one of my nieces has autism, and my sister searched everywhere and worked with all of these other different people and psychiatrists. And I kept saying the same thing. I was like, please go see Jeffrey. Finally, it's happened. And every time she comes back, she is empowered. And that has added to calm. I cannot state that enough. So to parents out there, when you have this child who's chaotic and it's all over the place and upset, losing their temper, when all of a sudden they start feeling better about themselves and they feel safe to be who they are and they feel supported in the passions they have, all of a sudden they become a very powerful individual. And that's why, definitely, if you are a parent, a sibling, or a loved one, and you know somebody that is dealing with autism, or anything for that matter, that's dealing with hypersensitivity or non-neurotypical stuff, seek out somebody and don't stop until you find the person that is magic for them. Again, the confidence, the love, the support of a passion. And then when they do find a friend, this is a really tricky one. Sometimes the friend is not necessarily the right kind of friend. And that's where it's a little trickier to kind of guide and tell them, listen, you need to be cautious because this individual doesn't have your best interests at heart. And that can be taken very harshly. So, because they do get very protective of that individual. So those are some of the things I've noticed. I mean, do you want to, we can kind of close this up. I'd love to get some final thoughts from you. but I felt like we've gotten some important, at least, insights out.
All right, I want to throw in one more thing that I think significant, and then I'm going to be done. When you see people, and there are a lot of them now, who apparently have no feelings, no emotions, and absolutely are completely narcissistic. They were originally like the kind of people that we talked about, but they got hurt so much. The world is, the world of companionship is such a catastrophe for them that they almost voluntarily say, I'm done. And feelings have gotten me nowhere. So I'm going to be the coldest, hardest human being that has ever been created. And that's very common. I keep noticing how so many of the people that commit these school shootings and other kinds of shootings fit this profile. They were once honest, nice, open, territorial with their friends, and they've had it. They've had no recognition. No one's understood them. They've been hurt so much. So they become the total opposite. And a psychological phenomenon known as reaction formation comes to the fore. That's a topic for another day, but you get my point.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's a perfect way to end it, because if early intervention, we've spoken about that many times, the sooner you can kind of capture and figure out the correct diagnosis. You want to keep searching. Once you find that, you'll feel empowered. It's nice to know what you're facing. And then from that point forward, you can really, you at least from my viewpoint and my vantage, I agree with you 100%. I feel like there's a lot of people out there that can be saved and need that saving. You see some of this behavior, support them, listen. Don't try to force something. If you try to push them to do one thing or yank them over here, or like, I'm going to take you to this party, so you're going to make friends. Don't do that. Just talk to them, work with them, love them, and then the rest of it, find some help. I do believe in that, because it doesn't matter how good you are as a parent. There are just some things that your child needs to hear from somebody else. It doesn't matter if it's the same exact words. So that's where I'll leave it there. Jeffrey, thank you for joining. And let's definitely do a couple follow-ups. I'll write them down after I listen. Thank you to everyone for listening. And, please continue to send suggestions. We really appreciate it. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you so much for listening to Chaos2Cured podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with everyone you know. And definitely like, follow, and subscribe. Certainly leave a comment if you'd like. Let us know what you'd like us to talk about the next time. Also, in our show notes, there should be direct links where you can follow us on our social media, as well as reach out to us directly. Thanks again, and have a great day. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on Chaos2Cured podcast are the speaker's own. All discussion is based on our own experiences. We do not and cannot guarantee the accuracy or completeness of any information. Chaos2Cured podcast cannot give medical or health advice. All discussion is based upon our personal experiences and meant for general and educational purposes. This podcast is not a substitute for professional help or for diagnostic purposes for yourself or another. Chaos2Cured podcast always encourages you to consult an appropriate professional.